the Keystone pipeline. So right before I got up on stage, there's nothing probably about the Keystone pipeline that you don't know. But it was interesting yesterday in Grand Island. I was not there. I think it's on purpose, not because we didn't want to go to Grand Island or the weather, because it was an opportunity, I think, for Nebraskans to talk about it. This was the last public hearing for you in Nebraska to air your concerns, your support, whatever. And I was very pleased to see, the Grand Island Chamber, a number of businesses stand up and speak up in favor of and then it was amazing to see, and labor unions all over the place came in. They lined up to speak, and of course it took hours and hours and hours and hours to get to them, and by that time they had to go to work. So a lot of them weren't able to speak, but they were there showing their support, and then it was the opponent's turn. And it was really interesting to hear. We had a number of people there who were relaying information to us about how many people were from out of state and had been bussed in from all around to voice their opposition to it. And I'm not from Nebraska, but as a Nebraskan, I would be opposed to that. This was not their turn. They have other venues to do that. They have a national discussion going on. They don't have any equities in what happens here in Nebraska. And so I thought that was very interesting to have people from all around being bussed in to show their opposition to this based on the fact that they didn't want the oil sands developed. I'll leave it at that. So we just heard that the State Department now is considering extending the time frame for comment. And so what I think we're looking at is a process that is not going to yield a decision by the summer, maybe not even the fall, and we could be looking at winter if this continues to get drawn out. And that's good news if you own railroad stock. The rail cars are carrying as much as they can of our oil out of the Bakken. The Canadian National Railroad is carrying a lot more oil out of the oil sands. And that's all interesting, but that's a workaround for the pipeline. We need the pipeline to actually move these molecules to where they need to be. And for those that continue to argue that we're going to export this, this product, simply going to cut through our country and then go other places, well, not only is the demand here, but I think we're importing that oil from Venezuela right now. Do we import it from Venezuela, turn around and export it? No. Then why would these molecules be any different? I mean, the demand is here. So it's just a baseless argument, but it has gotten people all upset that you're using our land, just to export it, which is completely baseless. So I don't have the tea leaves on this, but as the Prime Minister Harbert from Canada, who came in right after the president had rejected the pipeline, and he was visibly upset, visibly angry. He had just come from a meeting with the president, and in a very un-Canadian terms, because they're very low-key, he got very upset and agitated, and he said, "This was a win-win. This was a no-brainer. What are you guys going to do to us next? You have left us with no choice but to look elsewhere." Well, that's one heck of a way to treat your friends. And I think this is going to have long-term implications if we don't move forward with this. The oil is going to go somewhere. It's going to find its way to market. Ultimately, they could build a pipeline to the east and the west and still need one to the south. Hopefully we can work this out, but we have shown ourselves not in our best light at the moment, and I think we have an opportunity to fix that if the facts will prevail going forward. Just a couple notes on electricity, and I'm delighted that the Lincoln Electricity folks are here because you feel this more than anybody. You don't know what to build at the moment, right? If you were told by that you've got to add a certain amount of megawatts of capacity, with everything that's happening in the marketplace, you don't know what's going to be happening in taxes, you don't know what's happening in terms of EPA and the slew of regulations that are coming. There's a whole host of unknowns out there. We really don't know what to build, and that's not a really good story for an economy that's trying to get back on its feet. If you look at this, right about now, we should be preparing for an economic recovery, and we're basically not building any new electricity in this country. We're building a little bit of gas because we have it and we have to. We're building a little bit of wind because there's some opportunity, but for all intents and purposes, we're not building a whole lot of new electricity capacity, and we're not building a whole lot of transmission. It's very difficult, and so that is something that we really worry about over the longer term, that in California and Texas, big load centers, we're not building what we need, and they might have brownouts. Maybe that's the wake-up call we need. That's not really the wake-up call we should be designing, but we've got reliability issues that are looming out there that if we don't start building some things, we can't just rely on energy efficiency to get us through this. With a booming economy, hopefully, we're going to need to have some more electricity to keep us going.